The soft chime of a bell marked the entrance of a modest grocery store in a quiet Californian suburb. It was the kind of place where regulars greeted one another with nods, and the staff always remembered your name. Among the few customers on a late Tuesday afternoon was Sophia, a grandmother in her early 60s, whose every step reflected both resilience and a quiet weariness. She walked carefully, her well-worn shoes barely making a sound on the linoleum floor. By her side was her 9-year-old grandson, Ben, whose wide eyes and energetic steps betrayed a youthful curiosity about the world. Sophia had spent her life teaching, pouring her passion into generations of children. But when tragedy struck 2 years prior, claiming the lives of her daughter and son-in-law in a car accident, she was thrust into a role she hadn't prepared for, becoming a parent again, this time to Ben. Life became a series of sacrifices. Her modest pension barely stretched to cover their essentials, and trips to the grocery store often turned into a delicate balancing act of needs versus wants. As Sophia carefully examined price tags, Ben wandered slightly ahead, drawn to the brightly colored packaging in the snacks aisle. He stopped before a shelf stacked with cookies, his gaze locked on a familiar blue box. "Grandma," he called out, his voice filled with excitement. "Look! It's the cookies Mom used to buy for me." Sophia approached, her heart tightening. Those cookies held memories of laughter-filled afternoons, Ben and his parents enjoying them together. But as she picked up the box and turned it over to check the price, her stomach sank. They weren't in the budget. With a forced smile, she said, "Maybe next time, sweetheart." Ben, ever perceptive, noticed her hesitation. "It's okay, Grandma," he said softly, his voice carrying a maturity beyond his years. "I don't really need them." Her chest ached at his words. Sophia placed the box in the cart anyway. "No, Ben," she replied, ruffling his hair gently. "Today's a special day. We're getting the cookies." But as they reached the checkout line, reality struck harder than expected. Sophia opened her coin purse, its contents a collection of nickels and dimes painstakingly saved. The cashier, a younger man named Greg, seemed indifferent as Sophia began counting the coins. Impatient murmurs rippled through the growing line behind her. "I don't have all day," Greg muttered under his breath, his voice just loud enough for Sophia to hear. She fumbled with the coins, her hands trembling slightly. Ben's small voice cut through the tension. "It's okay, Grandma. We don't need the cookies." "Really?" Tears pricked Sophia's eyes. The weight of her love for Ben collided with the burden of not being able to give him everything he deserved. She pushed the box aside, nodding to Greg to remove it from the purchase. That was when a man in a plain black jacket, standing 2 people behind in line, stepped forward. "I'll cover the cookies," he said, his voice calm yet firm. Sophia turned, startled by the voice and its owner. There, standing with an air of quiet confidence, was a man she instantly recognized. His deep-set eyes and disarming smile were unmistakable. It was Keanu Reeves. Sophia blinked, her breath catching as she fully took in the man standing before her. For a moment, the bustling world around them seemed to freeze. Keanu Reeves. Here, in this tiny grocery store. It didn't feel real. "No, thank you, but that's not necessary," she stammered, flustered by the sudden attention. Her hands instinctively moved toward the cookies, ready to push them further out of reach. But Keanu held up a hand, his expression gentle yet firm. "It's not a problem at all," he said warmly, his deep voice carrying an air of sincerity. "Sometimes, small things can mean the most." Sophia hesitated. Accepting help, even from someone as kind as this stranger, this celebrity, felt like admitting she couldn't manage on her own. And yet, the way Keanu spoke made her feel seen, as though he understood her struggle without her needing to explain it. Ben, standing quietly at her side, looked up at his grandmother, his small face full of hope. "Grandma," he whispered, tugging gently at her sleeve, "it's okay. He really wants to help." With her grandson's words breaking through her hesitation, Sophia gave a small nod. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "It means more than you know." Keanu smiled and stepped forward to the counter. "Add the cookies to my tab," he told Greg, whose demeanor had shifted from impatient to stunned silence. The cashier fumbled with the buttons on the register, suddenly aware that all eyes in the store were on them. Sure," Greg managed, his tone no longer sharp. As Keanu paid, a wave of murmurs rippled through the customers who had gathered nearby. Phones began to emerge, some discreetly filming the interaction, others snapping pictures. But Keanu didn't seem to notice or mind. His focus remained solely on Sophia and Ben. "Let me walk you to your car," Keanu offered, grabbing the bag of groceries. Sophia instinctively tried to protest, but he waved it off. "It's no trouble at all." Outside, the warm glow of the setting sun cast a golden hue over the parking lot. Keanu carried the bag with ease, his presence as calm and steady as his words. Sophia and Ben walked beside him, both still processing the surreal moment. At the car, Keanu handed the groceries to Sophia and crouched to meet Ben at eye level. "You know," he said, his voice gentle, "your grandma cares about you a lot. You're a lucky kid." Ben nodded solemnly, clutching the box of cookies. "I know. She's the best." Sophia felt tears well up again, but this time they were tears of gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," she said to Keanu. "It's just a box of cookies, but to us, it's so much more." Keanu straightened and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've already done more than enough," he replied. "Raising this amazing kid? That's no small feat. You're doing great." Just as Sophia was about to respond, Keanu reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "Here," he said, offering it to her. "Consider this a little extra help." Sophia's eyes widened. "I can't." "You can," Keanu interrupted softly. "And you should. I've been lucky in life. It's only right to share that luck when I can." Ben peered up at his grandmother, his curiosity piqued. With a trembling hand, Sophia accepted the envelope and opened it. Inside was a gift card to the grocery store, along with a note in Keanu's handwriting, "For more moments that matter." Sophia was speechless. Before she could gather her thoughts, a voice called out from behind them. It was Greg, the cashier, his face flushed with embarrassment. "Mr. Reeves," he said hesitantly, shuffling closer. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken the way I did. It was wrong of me." Keanu turned to him, his expression kind but serious. "Thank you for saying that," he replied. "It's never too late to choose kindness. Remember that." Greg nodded, his posture visibly lighter as he returned to the store. Keanu turned back to Sophia and Ben, his smile returning. "Take care of each other," he said, stepping back. "And enjoy those cookies, Ben." With that, Keanu gave a small wave and walked toward a sleek black motorcycle parked nearby. The engine roared to life as he rode off into the distance, leaving Sophia and Ben standing in the parking lot, their lives forever changed by a simple act of kindness. As they drove home, Ben couldn't stop talking about what had happened. "Grandma," he said, clutching the cookies tightly, "do you think he's like a real-life superhero?" Sophia smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in years. "Yes, Ben," she said softly. "I think he might be." The story of Sophia, Ben, and Keanu Reeves didn't end in the grocery store parking lot. The next morning, Sophia awoke to the sound of her phone buzzing incessantly. Half asleep, she reached for it, only to find a flood of notifications. Messages from friends, former students, and even distant relatives poured in. "Is this you?" one text read, accompanied by a blurry photo of her and Ben standing beside Keanu Reeves in the parking lot. Another message chimed, "You're all over the news." Sophia's confusion turned to astonishment as she scrolled through the headlines. Keanu Reeves' kindness brightens struggling family's day. It seemed someone in the store had recorded the entire encounter, and the video had gone viral overnight. Social media platforms were abuzz with praise for Keanu's humility and generosity, as well as admiration for Sophia's quiet strength. Ben, hearing the commotion, bounded into the kitchen, his face lighting up when Sophia explained what had happened. "Grandma," he exclaimed. "Does this mean everyone knows about the cookies? And Keanu?" Sophia laughed. "It seems so, sweetheart. But let's not let this change who we are, okay?" Ben nodded solemnly. "Okay. But can I bring the box to show and tell?" Before she could answer, her phone buzzed again. This time, the number on the screen was unfamiliar. Hesitantly, Sophia answered. "Hello. Good morning, is this Sophia?" The voice on the other end was professional yet warm. "My name is Lisa, and I work with Mr. Reeves. He asked me to reach out to you." Sophia's heart skipped a beat. "Oh, my. Yes, this is Sophia." "Wonderful," Lisa continued. "Mr. Reeves wanted to ensure you and Ben are doing well after yesterday. He also asked if he could arrange something special for you both. Would you and Ben be available for a visit later this week?" Sophia stammered, caught off guard. Yes, I think so. But what kind of visit?" Lisa chuckled. "Let's just call it a surprise. I'll send the details shortly." That Friday, a black car pulled up in front of Sophia's modest home. Out stepped Keanu Reeves, carrying a small wrapped package in one hand and wearing his signature kind smile. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains and fences, their curiosity piqued. "Hi, Sophia." "Hi, Ben," Keanu greeted warmly. "I hope I'm not interrupting your day." "Not at all," Sophia replied, still trying to process the moment. Ben, practically bouncing with excitement, ran up to Keanu. "Are you here for cookies again?" Ben asked innocently. Keanu laughed. "Not this time, buddy. But I did bring you something." He handed the package to Ben, who eagerly tore it open to reveal a book about space exploration and a model rocket. "Wow!" Ben exclaimed. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves." "There's more," Keanu said, turning to Sophia. "Lisa mentioned you used to be a teacher. I spoke to some people who'd love to hear your story. They've set up a scholarship fund in Ben's name to honor your hard work and ensure his future." Sophia gasped, tears springing to her eyes. I don't know what to say. This is more than I could have ever imagined." Keanu placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to say anything. Just keep being the amazing grandmother you already are." In the weeks that followed, the scholarship fund gained momentum as people inspired by the viral story contributed. Messages of support flooded in from strangers around the world. Sophia and Ben's lives began to change, not because of the money, but because of the overwhelming kindness that reminded them they weren't alone. For Keanu, it was another moment that reaffirmed his belief in the power of small acts of kindness. As he returned to his usual life, he carried Sophia and Ben's story in his heart, a reminder of the impact one person can have on another. And for Sophia and Ben, every time they opened a new box of cookies, they remembered that day at the grocery store when a stranger became a hero.